Hi guys, hope everyone's well and welcome back to the Improvement Podcast. So today I'm going to be touching on developing training intensity. First of all, quick update on myself as I usually do. So I'm currently just over 6 weeks out, 6 weeks and 2 days recording this. And everything's going pretty well this week, to be honest. And £8 down from the start, not £8, sorry, that would be worrying if I was. £0.8 down since the start of the week, so it's been a productive one in terms of fat loss. And yeah, everything's going pretty smoothly. Most weeks anyway, there's not much to talk about, and that's usually the case when it comes to losing fat or building muscle. It's that you shouldn't have much to talk about weekly. It's just about just being consistent, doing the same stuff, doing it well day in, day out, to be honest. Hence why I've not always got the most to talk about. But yeah, everything's going well, to be honest, and I'm happy with how things are. And jumping into the episode, so like I said, I'm going to touch on developing training intensity. And the reason why is to build muscle, we need to be training hard. So to be making sure that our sets are effective, we need to be accumulating effective reps, which are basically the 5 reps from failure. And if we're not getting those 5 reps from failure, or the 5 reps closest to failure, then we're not accumulating those effective reps. And the reason we want those effective reps is to recruit as much muscle fibers as possible. And if we don't train and get those effective reps, then we're not going to stimulate our muscles effectively, accumulate the muscle fibers we want to recruit, and basically give our muscles the ability to be stimulated and grow. We're not going to be able to do so effectively. So that's why we should always obviously aim to train as hard as we can, really, especially as a beginner. And if you are a beginner or if you are relatively new to training, I always recommend, if you've not done before, practicing training to failure. And making sure your sets are all 100% effort sets, all sets where you're given as much effort as possible, doing as much reps as you possibly can with good form. And the reason being is, if you start off the gym and you're thinking, right, I'm going to train and leave 2 reps in the tank. If you're new to training, your 2 reps in the tank's probably about 7 reps to the tank, or maybe even 10. Because training hard is a skill, so it takes time to learn how to train hard, it takes time to learn how to train to failure. And if you're not spending time doing so, then you're not going to get good at that skill. It's like, how do you know you're trained to failure if you've not trained there yet? Or how do you know if you're 2 reps from failure if you haven't been to failure yet? And yes, you might think, oh, I couldn't get another rep. But like I said, it's also a skill. It's not just giving yourself effort in that set, because training to failure is also including things like staying composed, keeping tight, keeping good form when you get close to failure. And if, let's say, you're doing a squat and because it's burning, because it feels horrific, because it feels like you're getting crushed, you are like a deer in the headlights, your form breaks down, you don't focus on bracing, and your cues go out the window, and you just fail the set because of that, then that's not true muscular failure you're getting. That's you failing due to form breakdown or skill not being where it needs to be, and that's classed as training to failure as well, trying to develop that. So again, that will allow you to do so. But yeah, you can't train 2 reps from failure if you haven't trained to failure yet. So make sure you're spending time training to failure, because like I said, if you are being like, I'll leave it and I'll be 2 reps from failure, you're probably not. I guarantee you that. In reality, if we're getting 5 to 10 reps in reserve each set, if we're not getting those failure reps, like I said, we're not going to be progressing as much as we could. So no effective reps will be obtained from your sets, potentially. And in terms of how to develop training intensity, sadly there's not much shortcuts, or there's not a set way, do this and you'll train intense after 6 months, such a thing. Because training hard is hard, and it just requires hard work and practicing, just like anything else. In terms of how you do know if you are training hard, if you are training to failure, rep speed is a big telltale. So rep speed's basically how fast is your last rep. For example, If, let's say, you're doing a set of, a good example is like a single leg press. If you've ever done it with good form, it burns, it feels absolutely horrific. The lactic acid is very, very bad. And you just want to get out of that set as soon as possible. So that's a great example to use. So if you're doing, let's say, a single leg press, and when you're performing it, if, let's say, it's burning, it feels horrific, your last rep's really fast and then you rack it, you've still got more there. In terms of how you know if your last rep's slow, the last rep should move very, very slow throughout the whole rep, and that should be unintentional, meaning you're driving it up, trying to finish that rep as fast as possible, but the sled on the leg press is moving very, very slow. You're just carrying out that rep and it's taking ages. That's how you know you're close to failure or at failure. Your technique can also influence this. For example, if you aren't bracing well, or if you aren't, if you've just not got the best form, then that's obviously going to impact your rep speed slightly and how much you can get. But for the most part, it's when your reps are unintentionally slow is when we're reaching failure. So if your last rep's super fast, even if it feels absolutely horrific on like a single leg press, you've got more in the tank. And it's different from making your last rep look slow. So if you're putting on squeamish faces and squinting your eyes, gritting your teeth, and then pretending or trying to make the last rep move slow because you know, right, this will be my last one, then that's different from being intentionally slow. It's like even with maximal effort, moving as fast as you possibly can move it, it should move slow. And something else is just learning to be uncomfortable. So like I said, there's no shortcuts. It's about just learning to stay composed and deal with the suck, you could call it, or when it feels rubbish, when you want to get out of sets, like doing a single leg press, putting the safeties up and just going for another until you can't, regardless how bad it feels or hurts. Same with all other movements, just basically doing it, practicing it and repeating the movements that suck, that will be challenging mentally and physically, week in, week out in the gym. It's how you basically improve your training effort and training intensity. And in terms of a tip that you can put in place is failing in safe environments. So if, let's say, you're wanting to practice training as hard as you can, train to failure, but you train yourself or you're not confident you'll 110% get that rep, then instead of having that doubt in your mind that you might not get it, put safeties up in things like a squat. Put the safety guards up if you're doing it in a rack, and then basically put the bar on your back and lower down and make sure that the safeties are just below where you'll basically go to. So basically, whatever your depth is, just below that you'll hit the guards, so the guards will be there to catch the rep. And doing things like putting the safeties up on the leg press as well, same with like a Smith machine, and other leg movements wherever you can. Just find ways to make it safe and practice failing safely. Meaning, like I said, if you know you're not going to get a squat, know that the safeties are there. Same with the bench press. And this can basically get that doubt out of your mind of, oh no, I'm going to get hurt, get injured, I better rack it, I better not go for another one. Because worst scenario, if you're performing movements with good form, then worst scenario is you don't get the rep, you fail, you can ditch it on the rack by just simply going a wee bit lower on the squat or letting it hit the guards on leg press, and all the worst scenario is you know it's not there. You gave it your all, like there's nothing bad that can really come from it. And you might think, oh, it's embarrassing failing in the gym. I think anyway, in my point of view, I'd rather, if I was in the gym, I'd rather see someone push yourself and fail, and I think I respect that, than seeing someone not put effort into their sets. I know what I'd rather, and I know what I'd rather do myself. And yes, like I said, sometimes it can be form breakdown too, so don't just go for an attempt of like a set of a squat and then as soon as you can't get a rep, think, oh, I'm training to failure now, my form's, or I'm putting in 100% effort, because It can be you weren't bracing effectively at the bottom. It could be you rushed the lowering phase. Also, that's a skill as well, being able to just maintain your composure in terms of good form when it does get hard. So yeah, make sure you're making that a focus as well, because if, let's say, you let out all your air at the bottom of the squat, you rush down, then you might just fall forward or that, and that's not you failing with your quads, if that makes sense. That's something different. So yeah, as well as failing in safe environments, have a spot or a training partner. So someone there to push you, it helps massively. And I found, like, I've trained with a client before. I popped them on the leg press, or they went on the leg press, and they were like doing their set, and I was like, come on, one more, and I can't remember exactly, so don't quote me on it. But he got like 5 to 10 reps more, something in between there, I believe, on the leg press, and that's him. What he perceived was training to failure beforehand, and like I said, if he had those amount of reps in the tank before, how much is he holding himself back if he left those reps in the tank every session? And the scary thing is, he was one of my clients that I thought was training relatively hard. I thought he was pushing himself, and not that he wasn't, not to discredit him. He was a client that was great to coach. But I'm just trying to give an example. It takes time, and sometimes it just takes someone pushing you to be able to train to failure. And also they can assist with the last rep, so basically give you the ability to go for another rep, and even if it is extremely slow, if it feels horrific, if it's a 50-50 rep, they can be there while you go for it. You can keep them, they'll keep you accountable, and then they can help you finish the rep if you need some assistance. And if you are wanting to get a training partner or that, or help from someone, I'd recommend trying to get someone just like the same level of experience or more experience than yourself. Just someone who will add to your training and not take away from it if you're wanting to progress pretty effectively. Because what you don't need is someone distracting you and taking the piss out of you if you're making faces during your sets or grunting or doing anything like that, because that's obviously not going to contribute towards your training. And there's also the thought process of, if, let's say, you're surrounding yourself by people who are training harder than you, you're going to rise to that standard. So you're going to rise to whoever, like the people around you, whoever they're training, or whatever standards they're training to. Because it's true, it's like if you put yourself in an environment of people who are above you, then you'll go to their level. It's like the analogy with, if you put like a shark in a fish tank, it will only grow so large that because it's in a fish tank, because it's obviously not got enough water to swim in with, if that makes sense. I think I've butchered that a wee bit, but hopefully you get the drift. So yeah, the accountability of having someone there can help a lot. Same with a coach, if you're wanting to invest in a coach. Having someone to look at your form, tell you if you're training to an adequate intensity or not. A few other things is music as well, so having something to push you can help. And also self-belief, so where the body goes, the mind follows. I've been in this position before where I think, right, I don't know if I'll have it, I probably won't, but I still go for the rep, but it's just not there. Whereas if you approach that rep with, right, I've got this, I am not feeling this, this is my rep, you'll be much more likely to get it. And the same applies with most things in life. If you go in and you, like, first you need to believe something to achieve something, if that makes sense. So yeah, make sure you practice, like, positive self-talk. Is as silly as it might sound, it sounds like I'm talking about something you learn in PE, but just go in your sets with confidence, go in with aggression and tell yourself, you've got this, come on, don't fail, that sort of thing. Also, training environment can be another factor. Like I was saying, your environment can lift you up or bring you down. Same with your training partner or whatever. So put yourself in an environment that contributes towards your goals and puts you in a position where you've got no choice but to reach your standards, if that makes sense. And I guarantee you that will make a difference. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the episode as always. Please Like it, subscribe, comment, depending on what you're listening to it on. Share it on your story if you did enjoy it, and any questions or any specific topics you'd like covered, then please just ask. Hope everyone has a great day, and thanks again for listening.